So we still have a lot of questions around the next generation consoles. Even though we've seen the complete inside of the Xbox Series X, we still haven't seen any next generation offerings from Microsoft first party studios. And Sony, we haven't even seen the PlayStation 5 yet, let alone a game from them, right? So there's a lot of questions on that side. But one of the big questions, one big piece of speculation that keeps getting brought up is, how much is all this going to cost us? Yeah, what's the price going to be? We kind of have an idea in our mind. Somewhere between $500 and $600 seems to be the going rate for a lot of people and what they believe they will have to spend this holiday to get into this new generation. But there has always been the question of, what if one side, whether it's Sony or Microsoft, decided to make it cheaper in order to undercut their competition? Because right now, neither side seems to be jumping at the idea of telling us how much these systems are going to cost, but one of them's going to have to go first eventually, and they can both sit there and play chicken. But if at some point pre-orders will have to go live, and we'll have to know how much this is going to cost us and how much we're going to have to put down to get our ticket in line for what could end up being a pretty limited launch in terms of supply. But the other day, there was a Periscope event. This was after Microsoft's Xbox Series X showcase. That, of course, was the gameplay showcase where they showed like a minute or two of gameplay on top of a lot of cinematic trailers. The marketing was not very good for that event, and Microsoft has now pretty much admitted that. But during a Periscope video, we had Jeff Keighley and Michael Pachter talking about the event, and Michael Pachter, who's been around for a while, ever since I can remember, making predictions within the industry about different studios, the direction, money, all of this stuff, right? He's been making predictions for a while. Now, he's been, I'll say 50-50, okay? We'll say that on some of this stuff. He's gotten some stuff right that's pretty hard to believe at times leading up to it, but then he's gotten stuff like way wrong off in the distance. Who knows where he was on that one, right? But on this Periscope event with Jeff Keighley, he had an interesting prediction for Microsoft. Microsoft's being pretty smart about waiting Sony out here. From what I've seen, Sony's going to have to charge $500 for their PS5, and Microsoft has a big balance sheet. If they want to cut the price by $100 just price below and subsidize the first 10 million, they will. So I think that they're waiting to have Sony blink first, and then they'll reveal the price and the launch date. It's going to be holiday, so very likely sometime in November, very likely $400, and fans are going to get a lot from their $400. So is it possible that the Xbox Series X could actually come out and be $400? It's possible. I won't say it's definitely not impossible. Microsoft could do something crazy like that. They do have a big balance sheet, as Michael Pachter says here, but it's not all for gaming. That's the biggest thing, is there are budgets in place for different departments at Microsoft. But could they eat the cost on their Xbox Series X, put it out at $400 when it should have come out at $500? Yeah, because the thing with Microsoft that's interesting, obviously, is that they have been working to make money less and less off of any kind of hardware, even in some instances games, and move towards more of a subscription-based service overall. They are a service-based company at the heart of it, so them looking at their Xbox as having to sell the hardware to then get subscriptions would mean that they could technically eat the cost on it if they want to. But I think that Series X is, I think even at $500, they're going to be cutting it kind of close as it is. I mean, and based on the current situation with supply chains, part pricing right now with the virus and the pandemic, there is a chance that even at $500, they could lose some money. Not a ton, but they could still lose a little bit of money even at $500. So if they are breaking even completely or even losing a little bit at $500, I don't think they want to drop another $100 off of retail all the way down to $400 just to undercut the PlayStation. And there's another reason for that as well. See, the idea of the Series X is, of course, that it is a series of systems. And at this time, there are so many rumors, speculation around Lockhart being real, to the point now where there have been rumors that it is actually in the take-home phase with employees, meaning it is probably going to be their at launch, and it would make substantially less sense to have Lockhart even exist if the Series X was going to be $400 in the first place. Series X is to be Series X is the more expensive model that I think will launch at least $500. Lockhart will be that we'll say the other side of the spectrum, right, on the pricing scale at $300. So in effect, Michael Pachter is kind of right about Microsoft's strategy. He's just picking the wrong system to undercut Sony with. Now, Sony, I think, will have to have the PS5 at $500. I was hoping one of their big aces up their sleeves would be that they managed to get the PS5 to $400. I think the idea of the SSD being some weird like 825 gigabyte size was them really trying to cut down to get to $400, but it's looking more and more likely that they will launch at $500, and they're going to have to bring the games big time, especially if they are going to be going up against a Microsoft that has two different systems. One, the Lockhart, that plays the same games, right, just not look as good overall, but $200 cheaper. The other part of the equation here is to just think that, oh, Microsoft's going to price that Series X cheaper because they want to sell everyone a Series X. That's not their strategy, though. Their strategy is that they want everyone in that ecosystem one way or the other. Are you on PC? Okay, but you have Game Pass on PC. Well, okay, that's fine with them. They're cool with that. Do you have a Series S, we'll say, for Lockhart, and you're in the ecosystem? That works. You didn't even have to spend that much money to get in, $300, and you're in, right? Are you still on an Xbox One X? Yeah, but you're part of Game Pass, so you're still in. That's kind of been Microsoft's strategy. They don't necessarily care how you're a part of Game Pass or Xbox Live or any of that, just as long as you are. I do think he's correct, though, with the November launch. It's always possible, like I say, that they could come out in like October or something, but like November generally is the month that these systems launch, around holiday time, enough to get the system out, probably sell out pretty quickly, and then have a few weeks of restock as they get ready for December with the holidays. I think the Series X and Series S will launch within a week of the PS5. One of them will go first, and then we'll have a week, and then all the other systems will come out. I thought it would be curious if Microsoft did a staggered release, so like maybe they do try to push in October, release the Series X, and then put the Series S out like a month later. But I really don't think it'd be that confusing to have both of them there day one, as long as the marketing is good enough and the idea of having a series, so they all play the same games, one is just more powerful and more expensive, as long as they can convey that to the customer within reason, and the idea of smart delivery to where you just buy a game and it'll just work on these devices, I think then you can get away with launching multiple SKUs like right away on release day and still be okay with it. But if there is some miracle and the Series X comes out at $400, that will be a very good value, I will say, at $400 based on the specs that we've seen here. There's a very good possibility that that might even be cheaper than AMD's like higher end card that's also a part of RDNA 2, and you'll probably still get better performance from the Series X because it is a closed box environment, obviously. But wow, that would be wild if Microsoft unveiled a $400 Series X and a $300 Lockhart. But I think that would take away a lot of value from Lockhart being just $100 cheaper. But let me know what you guys think about this situation down below. Do you think Michael Pachter is onto something here with a $400 Series X, or do you think he's just making another wild guess here, a wild prediction, and hoping it turns out right? Let me know, guys, down below. Make sure you like the video on the way out if you enjoyed it. Dislike it if not, and I'll see you next time.